Welcome in! Episode 2, Word of the Weiss, and it is a glorious night to be recording this episode. Why is it such a glorious night? Well, it is my honor to announce that Word of the Weiss podcast picks are officially 1-0. The Kansas City Chiefs just beat the Philadelphia Eagles 38-35, and who would have thought? Until there was about 5:15 left in the game, I'm not gonna lie, I had hope that my 35-27 Chiefs prediction was gonna hit. And this would have been an insufferable episode. But lucky for all of you, it did not. Lucky for me, the Chiefs did pull through. And now, podcast picks are 1-0. Who would have thought that the Philadelphia Eagles defense, the number one defense in the league, shutting down teams all year, that pass rush, that secondary, would give 38 points to Mahomes in a Super Bowl? That's right. The best quarterback they played this season was Trevor Lawrence. And they gave up over 20 points to him, even though the Jags had 5 turnovers that game. Oh, that's right. The second and third best quarterbacks they played this season were Jared Goff and Aaron Rodgers, and both of them scored well over 30 points. And how many sacks did this historic, legendary, unblockable Eagles pass rush have? None? Did they sack Mahomes? Now, what I will say is that I wasn't exactly right about everything in that game. I mean, nobody's perfect. Jalen Hurts had a fantastic game. I was wrong. Jalen Hurts earned a fan today in me. I didn't think he had a good game since week 12, give or take. And he stepped up and he performed incredibly well in the biggest game and the biggest moment of his career. But it wasn't enough. Now, what I do have to say before we really get into the thick of it, episode 1 of the podcast, guys, you freaking killed it. The goal was 100 views by the time episode 2 came out. And this episode wasn't supposed to come out until maybe Monday night, probably sometime Tuesday, because I wasn't planning on recording it until tomorrow. But as it turns out, I just couldn't help myself. So right now it is 11:11. Make a wish, and I just had to sit down and record this because that was such an incredible game and I couldn't wait. But what I was gonna say is the goal of the first episode was 100 views, maybe by the time episode 2 comes out, maybe 10 to 20 subs on YouTube. And I'm looking right now, 133 views in 2 days, 38 subs, 24 likes, and that's just YouTube. I don't know how to check Spotify listeners. I tried to, so if any of you know, let me know. I'm assuming there's at least like 10, 20 extra listens on Spotify, not counting those 133 on YouTube, but whatever. Point is, you guys killed it with episode 1. I seriously can't thank you guys enough, and it's just all the more motivating to keep going with this, so thank you guys for that. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. The call that decided the game, that was already 35 apiece. The game that the Eagles defense gave up 35 points, that the Chiefs defense gave up 35 points, that the refs didn't make a single bad call in until that moment, that Hold on 1 second. Okay. 2-minute warning. The time the call was made, 46 minutes were played in the game. But that call decided the game. Wow, that is awful math. 58 minutes. That is why I'm a journalism major. But that call decided the game. If you think that call, the holding on Juju, that wasn't actually a hold, and I agree, that was a bad call. If you watch the game and you don't agree that it should have been a no call, then you are biased to the Chiefs. Because it was. It was a no call that was unfortunately called. That said, if you think that play decided the game, if that's the statement that you're deciding to take, then you have to understand what that means you're saying. Because I feel like a lot of people just say it and are saying it all over my Twitter and don't actually understand what they're also subsequently saying. If you want to go around and say, that call is why the Chiefs won, that call decided the game, then you have to also say the Eagles would have went down the field in 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes, without any timeouts, and they would have scored a touchdown. You have to say, I do think there was a better chance of that happening than there was a chance of that not happening. Because if you are saying that call decided the game, then you were saying if that wasn't called, the Eagles would have won. Meaning that you either thought the Chiefs were going to miss the field goal, or you thought they were going to make it, and then the Eagles were going to come down and score. So if you think that is what was going to happen, then okay. But if you think that it was more likely the Chiefs wouldn't miss that field goal, that short field goal, or, well, somewhat short, but very makeable, or you thought that the Eagles were going to go down the field and score, if you thought it was less likely that that happened than that it did happen, then you don't think it decided the game. Because saying it decided the game means that if it didn't happen, the Eagles would have won. And the truth is, if it didn't happen, the Chiefs more likely than not still would have made the field goal, meaning the Eagles would have to go the length of the field in 2 minutes, past the 2-minute warning, with one timeout, and score a touchdown. And I think it's illogical to think there was a better chance of that happening than it not happening. Now, could it have happened? If that call wasn't made, could the Eagles have won the game? Of course they could have. Of course they could have. Is there a greater than 50% chance that a team down 3 with less than 2 minutes remaining and one timeout is going to go the length of the field? Is there a better than 50% chance of that happening? No, that call did not decide the game. No, the Eagles, No, it is not a fact to say the Eagles would have won if that call wasn't made. It's not even over a 50% chance. And if you are saying that it did decide the game, you are saying, yes, it is over a 50% chance that the Eagles would have won that game, down 3 with less than 2 minutes, with one timeout, and go the length of the field, score a touchdown. So if you're going to say that call decided the game, those words know what you're saying. And I just think it's illogical to say that. That one call decided what, until that point, was one of the greatest football games in the history of the league. And I can't remember many games I watched in my short lifetime of watching football that was better than that. Obviously, the 28-3 last year's Super Bowl was great as well. I mean, I could list them, but it was one of the best ever. And I do want to note, I mentioned it a couple minutes ago, but until then, until that bad call, the refs had a great game. There were 2 calls that stood above the rest that were game-changing calls, and they got them both right. The first one was that Davante Adams catch that was called not a catch correctly down the sideline. Pretty much the same thing as last week, or the last time the Eagles were out there. And it was called a catch, and it seemed that the Twitter world, the social media world, agreed that that should have been reversed to a non-catch. But for some reason, this time, people think it should have been, when no, it was not a catch. Now, to be fair, it took me a couple of times to replay to, for it to click and say, there it is, not a catch. But it wasn't. Ball hit the ground. The tip of the ball hit the ground without hands on it. If you look closely at the last second, he didn't have control of the ball the entire way through, and therefore it was not a catch. Refs got it right. Next call. Second fumble return. Jalen Hurts threw it. I want to say it was Quez Watkins. I could be wrong on that, but caught it on on a screen. Soon as he caught it, hit hard, ball comes out, Chiefs take it all the way. I think it was Bolton again, and he's the guy who had the first fumble return that did count. I think it was him again that got this second one that got called off. And that was who would have knows what the rest of the game would have went like if the Chiefs ended up getting that. And the refs, to their credit, got that correct as well. He didn't take 2 steps, he didn't have full possession, not a fumble. So until that final bad call, the refs actually had a really, really good game. So I just feel like to say reffing decided this game, it's emotional more than it is logical, which is understandable because if you're an Eagles fan, or if you're just a fan of the sport and you want to see a good game, a good ending, then it's understandable to be upset at that call. I was upset at that call because it was a bad call. But to say it decided the game just simply is not true. Unless, like I said before, you believe something improbable was probable. Colin Cowherd, one of the greatest in the world at doing what I'm doing right now, tweeted this out, and I thought it was the perfect encapsulation of everything that went down at the end of the game. He said, great game with an odd ending, but the Eagles defense got worked for the last 2 hours. The superior coach made some tweaks. The superior QB made plays. Fans blame refs. It's what they do. But the Philly defense was atrocious after half. And every single part of that is true. It was a great game. It was an odd, unfortunate ending. The Eagles defense got worked for 2 hours and was even worse in the second half than they were in the first half. Andy Reid was the better coach. He made tweaks specifically in the red zone. Patrick Mahomes made plays, and fans blamed the refs. All of that can be true. It being a bad call and all of that being true can all be true. And I know that was a word soup of a sentence, but hopefully you guys get what I'm trying to say. So, Kansas City Chiefs are Super Bowl champs in a rebuilding year. They traded Tyreek Hill. The Broncos brought in Russell Wilson. The Chargers brought in J.C. Jackson. The Bills brought in Von Miller. The Ravens brought in Roquan Smith. The Dolphins brought in Teron Armstead. The Raiders brought in Davante Adams. The Chiefs gave away Tyreek Hill. The Chiefs started 7 rookies on their defense this season. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl. The Patrick Mahomes effect. What we're watching and what we watched tonight is truly, and this isn't exaggeration to say, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever at 27 years old, playing as well as any quarterback to ever play has performed. Now, with that, it's unfortunate because people do what people tend to do, and that's get excited and make irrational statements that just simply aren't backed up by any statistical analysis. Patrick Mahomes is not the GOAT. He's not the second greatest player ever. He's probably not the third greatest quarterback ever. But if you want to make that argument, we can have it. But he's not Brady and he's not Peyton. But he's the most talented quarterback, the most skilled quarterback I have ever seen live, highlights of, old YouTube documentaries about, stats of. He's the most talented. He's the most skilled. He is not in argument today to be the GOAT. Because if you think he is, and if your reasoning is, well, he's more skilled than Brady, he's more skilled than Peyton, he's more talented of a quarterback than either of those guys, therefore he is the greatest. Okay. Is Kyrie Irving a top 10 player ever? Is he a top 5 player ever? Is he a top 20 player ever? Because he's a top 20 most skilled player ever. He's a top 20 most talented offensive player ever. He's, in my opinion, and if you know me, you know how I feel about Kyrie Irving, off the court at least. He is the most skilled offensive basketball player ever to ever live. He can do things with the ball in his hands. He can put the ball in the hoop in ways that I have never seen. Not on Jordan highlights, not in old videos, not in The Last Dance, not in Steph, not in Damian Lillard, not in LeBron, not in Kobe, not in anybody I've ever watched play basketball. But Kyrie is not sniffing the top 20, top 30 players ever. Now, the difference between that and Mahomes is that Mahomes is winning. And Mahomes is a leader. And Mahomes is a guy you want as the face of your franchise. All of those things cannot be said for Kyrie. But saying Mahomes is the most talented ever, the most skilled ever, doesn't make him the GOAT. He has to win more. And I know that seems weird to say after I literally just watched him win a Super Bowl an hour ago. But it's true. He has 2 Super Bowls and 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and he has cemented himself as a top 5 quarterback of all time, argument, maybe top 3 or 4, but he's not Brady and he's not Peyton today. Now, if you want to say in 10 years he's going to be the GOAT, okay. That statement is backed up by evidence. You can say that the trajectory he's on, based on these first few seasons, based on that, I think he will be the GOAT by the end of his career. That's fine to say. Go ahead. I honestly don't think you could really argue that. At least not that well, because nobody's done what he's done through his first 5 seasons. But to say that he is already the GOAT today is not backed up by any statistical analysis other than the eye test. And to be the GOAT, you have to have an eye test, and you have to have the resume. And right now, that's Brady. And it's going to take a lot more statistics. The resume is going to have to go from here to here. If you're watching on YouTube, I did a thing with my hand. Point is, you're going to have to build that resume if you want to be the GOAT, which he could do. He has the skill to do it. He has the mentality to do it, something Kyrie unfortunately never had, or who knows where he could have ended up on the list of all-time greats if he just got his head on straight. Mahomes does. So if you want to have that conversation, we can. But don't tell me he's the GOAT today, because that is not logically, not statistically true. Now, I saw a tweet after the game, and this is what it said. Travis Kelce has the greatest quarterback of all time and is acting like he played for the replacements. Travis Kelce is boasting. Travis Kelce, you have the best quarterback. What are you talking about? People doubted you. It's big talk for someone on the best team in the league. No. Stop. Don't do that. I cannot express how much I dislike when people do that. If you picked the Chiefs to win it all before the year started, if you really did, if you picked them to win it all before the year started, then okay, you can say that. But if you didn't, if you picked the Bills or the Bengals, if you thought the Bengals were winning it all a month ago, or the Bills, or the Eagles, or the Cowboys, or San Fran, then you don't get to be mad at Travis Kelce for boasting. You don't get to be mad at Travis Kelce for telling all of you to suck it. Because you didn't think he was going to win it all. You didn't think the Chiefs were going to win it all, and they won it all. And now he gets his victory lap, his earned victory lap. Because as much as now you can look back on it and say, who let the Chiefs play the underdog role? You guys did. You all did. And so did I. Before the season, I picked the Bills to come out of the AFC. So when Travis Kelce says what he says, I say, fair enough. You are talking to me and everybody else out there who didn't pick you to win it all. And that is fair. So, next time you think about, should this player be boasting for his ring, think, his or her ring, think, did I think they were going to win it all? And if the answer is, honestly, not really, no, then don't complain about it, because he's right. You all made, they were the underdogs before this game, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, before the season started. They were not the favorites to win it all. And now they did, and now he and Mahomes and Andy Reid and everybody on that Kansas City team deserves their victory lap, and they are going to open next season as the favorites. And I would advise that you hop on that train now of them going back to the Super Bowl next year, because I think it's more likely than not, because they have Patrick Mahomes, and because they were rebuilding this year, because they started 7 rookies on defense, because they traded away Tyreek Hill, and they won the damn Super Bowl. That is as impressive as it can possibly be. Shout out Kadarius Toney, former Gator, longest punt return in Super Bowl history. I know everybody here in Gainesville was smiling ear to ear, seeing Kadarius Toney score that touchdown on a brilliantly executed Andy Reid play. Like I said, better coach, made adjustments in the red zone. Plays like that are what win you games, and Kadarius Toney was the recipient of that. Scored 6, and then had the longest punt return in Super Bowl history, which led to the Chiefs' eventual win. So it was amazing to see Kadarius Toney do that. I don't know if you guys saw him smiling towards the end of the game. The camera panned on him for a sec, and it was pretty cool to see. You know, I remember last year, or 2 years ago now. Yeah, wow. 2 years ago, was it? Yeah. Going to the first Gator game I ever went to, all the way in the, I want to say in the east end zone, all the way up to the top left, looking down and seeing Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney and now they're all in the league. And to see Kadarius Toney do that on the biggest stage was just fun as hell, and it was awesome. So, where does this leave the Eagles and Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and the season they had? I have nothing but respect for the Eagles. And I think if the Super Bowl taught us anything, it's that those were the two best teams in the NFL this season. The Chiefs were the best team in the AFC, the Eagles were the best team in the NFC. But not only that, they were the two best overall teams in the entire league. And if you didn't think that before, you should probably think it now, because I think that's what they showed us tonight, and that's how you end up with the type of game that we got. And we should all be grateful for that, because I don't know if it would have been the same if the Bengals made it. I don't know if it would have been the same if the Niners made it. Who knows? But what I do know is that the Chiefs and the Eagles played, and they played like they were the two best teams in the league this season, and we got an all-time game out of it, and it was a ton of fun. Jalen Hurts earned a fan in me. It's similar to when the Celtics played the Heat last season in the Eastern Conference Finals. That series made me a fan of Jimmy Butler, and I have been a fan of his ever since, because he earned my undeviating respect in that series. The way he played, the way he carried himself, the way he involved teammates, the decisions he made, the fact that he didn't complain to refs, the ability to be a leader that he showed changed the way I view him. Now, of course, that's a little different because he was playing my team. He was playing the Celtics. I have no association with the Chiefs or the Eagles, but in the same way, Jalen Hurts earned my respect. I didn't view him, I thought it was Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Burrow, Lamar. Those are five. Gap, Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts. Now I'm ready to put Jalen Hurts in that top five conversation. And I think that he earned, despite the loss, I think he earned the respect that some were giving him this season, but a lot, including myself, weren't really. And if he doesn't get hurt in the last couple weeks of that regular season, who knows? Maybe he does come away with MVP. But at the end of the day, I think this NFL season played out kind of storybook. Insert script joke here. Script. It's a hard word to say on the mic. But I think this season played out exactly how it should have. The best player in the world won the Super Bowl in the year that's probably going to be the only year for a long time that people really doubt him. Because I can't imagine too many people going into next season that are going to be doubting Patrick Mahomes again. The Eagles were the best team in the league throughout the season, beginning to end consistency-wise. They made it to where they deserved to make it, but they lost to the best player in the league, and they lost to the modern New England Patriots dynasty. And that's what started tonight. Now, I'm not ready to say they are the New England Patriots dynasty. They are equivalent to that dynasty, because obviously that just isn't true, and there isn't really an argument that it is. But to say that they are the modern version of it, meaning that where they are now compared to where the Pats were, after their first, few years, that's not crazy to say that they could become that. And I think what we saw today is another step in that direction for Andy Reid, Mahomes, Kelsey, and that organization. And it was a ton of fun. The game was great. The season was great. The players are great. The players are great. And I don't know. I don't really have a crazy hot take or anything about the seed. Like, I really thought this was a great season and that it ended the way it should have. Now, I will say that is the end of the Super Bowl talk. That is, the majority of this episode is going to be that Super Bowl review I just gave. The next NFL talk will, unless there's, big breaking news that happens, in the next couple weeks or something with a coach or a player, a team or something that I'm going to mention, probably won't be until the draft. Maybe before then, I might have some guests on. I'm thinking about having a Cowboys fan on to talk about the NFC East, having a Bills fan on, a Dolphins fan on to talk about the AFC East, and have a fan of a team in each division on to kind of like review each division, the 4 teams, the 2023 season we just witnessed, the upcoming 23-24 season, kind of do a little bit of that over the off season with the NFL. But as far as this past season goes, I feel like I just put a bow on it. And I'm excited for the draft, and I'm excited for the off season. We got a lot of free agents. That's going to be exciting to see where they go. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. So now what I am going to talk about to finish this episode, if you want to head out now because you were just here for the Super Bowl review, that's totally fine. Thank you for listening. But we got some insane trailers for some movies coming up during the Super Bowl, and I gotta talk about them because I'm literally itching to. And there are 3 movies that I really want to talk about. The Flash, Guardians Volume 3, and Ant-Man. Now, we didn't get anything for Ant-Man during the Super Bowl that we didn't already have, TV spots or trailers, but I am seeing it this coming Thursday at 3 o'clock, and that is, I'm assuming, going to be before the next episode drops, so this is the last I'm going to really be able to talk about it before I see it. So I wanted to at least mention it, so that is what I'm going to do. Talk about The Flash, the trailer we got, Guardians, Ant-Man, and then end the episode off. And I have no idea how long this has been. If this one is over an hour, then I'm going to be very disappointed in myself, because I told myself I'm not making another episode over an hour unless it's like a special episode, like a MCU ranked, or a big ranking, like a top 25 NBA player, like something like that. But just regular episodes like this, I told myself I'm not making another one over an hour, so I really hope I'm not creeping up on like 30-40 minutes here. Look, I'll move on. Point is, the first trailer we got was The Flash. Ezra Miller, say what you want about him. I'm not going to talk about off-the-job things. I'm just talking about the movie itself. I'm talking about him as Barry Allen, not him as Ezra Miller, which may be a little, I don't know what's the word, I don't want to say immoral, but for the sake of this discussion, that's what I'm going to do. That said, this movie looks totally awesome. This movie looks amazing. The trailer was incredible. Michael Keaton, Multiverse, Supergirl, Ben Affleck. Oh my god. James Gunn took over the DCU, and he put out a video talking about what's to come and his next decade-long plan for the DC universe. And in the video, he said that The Flash was going to be one of the greatest superhero movies ever, and that it was one of the greatest superhero movies he'd ever seen. I trust James Gunn as much as I trust anybody in the industry when it comes to superhero movies and TV, because everything he's made I've loved in this sphere, at least everything I've seen, which is Guardians and Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad. He hasn't failed me yet, so if he tells me that The Flash is going to be great, then I trust him until he proves himself to be untrustworthy, which hasn't happened yet. And then the trailer came out today, and it only justified that opinion. because personally, I'm not a big comic book guy. Everything on superheroes that I've seen has been live action or I guess some cartoon. And my first ever really experience with the Flash was the CW show, and I was obsessed with it. Like everybody was. Seasons 1, 2, 3 were just unbelievable. 4 was pretty good, and then 5 and 6 and on and on kind of started to decline. I think I stopped watching. I want to say season 6, but the point is that was really my introduction to the Flash, and I loved it because obviously the Flash is an awesome, incredible character. Just the concept of a guy with super speed being able to travel through time, like, that is awesome. So obviously I was interested in that, watched the show, loved it. Then the DC Justice League movie came out, or the Justice League movie, and it was awful. And it was cool to see the Flash, Ezra Miller interacting with other heroes, but the movie sucked, so it was tough to really, judge him as a character in, a big blockbuster movie. And then we got Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I remember freshman year, laying in bed, which was the top of a bunk bed, with my tiny TV in the corner, up the tall corner of the wall. I bought this mount to mount this tiny TV in the corner so it would perfectly face me at the top of my bunk bed. It was a weird setup, but point is, I remember laying there for 4 hours plus, however long the movie was, Zack Snyder's Justice League. If you haven't seen it, please watch it, because oh my god, it's awesome. And it is the blockbuster Flash that I've been wanting to see for so long on the big screen, actually getting to do Flash things. To almost just spoil won't spoil the movie, because I'll give you guys the opportunity to see it if you haven't. But it's one of my favorite superhero movies ever, so I highly recommend it. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Make sure you don't watch the Joss Whedon Justice League. Zack Snyder's. Flash does some awesome stuff in that. It's Ezra Miller, and he kills the role. He kills the role as the Flash in that movie, and ever since then I have been just hoping that we get this new Flash movie with him, as an actor, to really see the character thrive on the big screen in his own solo film. And now we are getting it, and it looks absolutely amazing. It's, I hope that, obviously we're going to get multiple Batmans in it, we're going to get Supergirl in it, we're going to get Zod in it, we're going to get some other iconic characters, and I really hope they don't take away from it. I hope that it is the Flash's movie, and that the character is really able to shine, because the Flash comes back with me so long, and I've really just loved the character forever. And I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the Batman are going to take over the movie and take shine away. I really do think the Flash is going to shine because James Gunn put that confidence in me. And until he proves himself untrustworthy, I trust him. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 also came out with a trailer tonight. I'm not going to be able to make it, man. I'm not going to be able to make it through that movie without crying. Do I really want to put that out there on the internet for people to hear me say? I guess it's kind of too late now. I have not figured out how to edit this podcast yet, as far as not doing a straight shot all the way through to take out things. So I suppose it is too late for me to take that back. Okay, well, you know what? It's true. So screw it. It's true. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it through the movie without shedding some man tears. But guess what? It's going to mean it's going to be a great movie. And again, James Gunn's at the helm of it. I trust Gunn. And I think that a lot of Guardians, or if not all of them, are going to die, because this is the final film in the trilogy. And from what I've heard, the synopsis is that it's about Rocket, the group trying to save Rocket. And I know Adam Warlock's going to be in it, and we're going to get some really cool new characters. I think this might be the end of Drax. I'm like 90, I don't know why I said I think this might be. I'm pretty positive this is going to be the end of Drax because Dave Bautista has come out and he said that he's saying goodbye to the role. So I feel like he might die. I feel like he will die, I should say. I feel like Rocket might. I don't know. Gamora and Nebula and Groot and Star-Lord. I don't know who's going to die. I don't know who's going to live. And guess what? That makes it an awesome, exciting movie because other than Bautista, you really have no idea. In the movies where you go and see and you're like, yeah, anybody could die. Or nobody could die. Make for a really fun time on first watch. So I'm super excited for that. And dude, did you guys see that scene of I tweeted this out. It was a minute and 45 seconds into the trailer of Peter Quill just, I don't know, in agony. And it was very reminiscent of Scott Lang in the most recent Ant-Man trailer. In his fight with Kang, there was a camera shot on his face, and it was him in a very similar situation, just in pain and agony. And you could really see on the actors' faces that some stuff was going down in that moment. That, combined with what I've heard about Rocket, what I've heard about it being a tragic backstory of his combined, just really make me feel like Guardians is going to be an incredible but kind of sad movie in a great way, if that makes sense. But I'm really looking forward to that as well. Speaking of Scott Lang, speaking of Ant-Man, I am thrilled to announce that Word of the Weiss's first movie, I don't want to say review, I don't know if I'm going to do a full movie review, but first, I guess a mini review or a mini talking about a movie that I went and saw in theaters will be Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Thursday at 3. It's very exciting. I have very high hopes for this movie because, one, Jonathan Majors is Kang. It's going to kick ass. I know it. Two, this is Paul Rudd's first opportunity to not be the comedic relief in the MCU. Now, he's going to be funny and he's going to make jokes and he's going to be a naturally comedic character in the movie because that's who he is. But I really, really do think we're going to get to see a different side of him and his character in this. And I think some stuff can really go down, and I think he might lose some people close to him, and I think he's going to have to make some really, really difficult decisions. And I think that Paul Rudd can pull it off really well, but we haven't seen him do it yet because he hasn't gotten the opportunity to, at least not as this character in this franchise. And I'm really, really excited to get to see him have the opportunity to do it in a movie that, so far, based on the trailers, looks like it's going to be really good. I really, really hope it is. It needs to be, because Phase 4 of the MCU, in the majority of people's eyes, was a disappointing way to follow up Endgame. Now, my defense of it is, how the hell would you follow up Endgame? How does anybody follow up what Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame was? And I personally thought that they did as good a job as they could have done with Phase 4. I thought No Way Home was amazing. I thought Black Panther Wakanda Forever was awesome. I thought Loki was great. Personally, I thought Black Widow and the Eternals were good movies. Now, obviously, there were some stinkers in there. I mean, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and She-Hulk, and I'm blanking, but there were some great ones, there were some bad ones, there were some mediocre ones in Phase 4. And in my eyes, that's exactly what you should have expected to come after Endgame. You should have expected Phase 4 to be them finding their way after Endgame, finding their groove, finding what works and what doesn't. No Way Home worked, Wakanda Forever worked, Falcon and the Winter Soldier didn't, She-Hulk didn't, Hawkeye did. Eternals, I guess, didn't, despite my disagreeing with that. Didn't. Black Widow, same thing. Point is, they found their way, I think, throughout Phase 4. And now, with Ant-Man being the first movie of Phase 5, introducing Kang, introducing the next big bad of the MCU, the multiversal saga, it has to be great. Because if it's not, then that means you're starting off this new phase in a way that people like me, who have been trying to defend you throughout your adjustment phase, have been trying to defend you. It's going to make it difficult on people like us to continue to defend you if you open phase 5 with a stinker. And I don't think they will. I think it'll be great, because I think it has to be great, and I don't think you can, experiment. I don't think you can experiment with this movie. I don't think you can afford to try new things with this movie. I think you gotta do what you know will work based on what you learned in phase 4, what you know about your audience. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania has to be great, because it is kicking off the new phase, the new big bad, the new story of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I look very, very forward to talking about it Thursday night on what I'm hoping will be when I record episode 3 of the podcast. If not, I'm going to do it Friday. But until then, until I'm back, until episode 3, guys, again, thank you. Episode 1, you killed it. 130 something views, 40 subs on YouTube, likes. I mean, just the support that I've been getting on social media has been beyond what I could have expected. And I don't know if it's because you guys really do think I'm killing it, or if you're just being good friends. And either way, I really do appreciate it. But seriously, don't be afraid to. I've gotten some constructive criticism from multiple people, just today even, and over the past few days from people that have listened to it. And please, I would much prefer you give me some constructive criticism and your real opinion on anything that I'm doing here than you to say, podcast is great, good job. Or that's not to say I don't want you to say that, because I do. I love the appreciation, of course. But if you have anything constructive criticism, say, I won't take it personally. Seriously. But thank you. I'm running out of breath. I'm gonna end it here, guys. But Super Bowl was incredible. Great game. Unfortunate call towards the end, but I think the better team won. The best player won. The game was great, the season was great, and I already am looking forward to next NFL season. Flash trailer was awesome. Guardians trailer was a little sad, but awesome. And Ant-Man Thursday, hopefully, will be awesome. And I will let you guys know. Alright, episode 3, guys. Thursday, maybe Friday. But for episode 2, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you, guys. It means the world. Word of the Weiss.